Hello and welcome. We know that you love Kahoot quizzes and generally love playing quizzes. So, what about creating one ourselves? Now, the key thing here is let's try to make it and present it in a fun and interesting way. So, we're going to make our questions using backdrops, and the options to the answers, we will make them using sprites so that we can add a lot more fun element to it. For the question, we can use any background, but I'm kind of using a black background. And for text, using a white background. Now, because the question is kind of long, I am pressing a enter so that we can clearly see it. And, we are asking a question about Earth spinning, and we know there is a Earth sprite in Scratch. Why not let's grab it and add it there? How will we do it? We got it here. And I'm going to just, you have to click on this pointer arrow so that you can copy it. Copied it from here, going back to our backdrop and using paste to paste it right here. Make it whatever size we want it. Now that we are done with what we wanted, I will just delete the sprite. So now we are going to add the options. So we have called this backdrop question 1. So what we will do probably when green flag click, we will want to show this switch backdrop to question 1. If we want, we can add a title and we can call our quiz something, give it some fancy name and show that title and then switch backdrop to question 1. So now with our question 1, how will we add our answers, our options? So we are going to do paint, and this is question 1, option 1. For this, what I'm going to do, and again, you can do how you like. So I'm going to make the background white and the text of black color, just the other way around now. So say I write here 16 kilometer per hour as my, if I want to give it a letter. Now, one of the reasons you will see I'm using a background rectangle is we are going to ask people to click on the sprite. And if you have a background, it makes it easier to click than just text. Now we will code this before we duplicate so that we get our code along with the sprite. So when we're going to say when sprite click, we don't want the question to show up. And when do we want it to show up? When backdrop switches to question 1. Backdrop switches to question 1, we have put its position. Now when somebody clicks on it, so what is the event we're going to use? When the sprite click. So when the sprite clicked, we can say some message like, so we'll say something like, some funny message. Do you think it moves so slow? And we can add a sound here. So in case you have not used sounds before in Scratch, you come to the sounds tab. That's the third tab. You've seen code, costume, the third tab, sounds. And there's a big Scratch library of sounds. So you can use any of the sounds here. We want to kind of show something like kind of funny sound. So I'm adding this sound here. And now how to add it in the code? The blocks for adding sound are in the sound coding block. So you can use start sound here because we just wanted to start and we wanted to continue making the sound while we click on it. Now what we will do, we will duplicate this sprite. So control, right click, duplicate. And let's go ahead and put our 4 options here. And then we will look at what to do with the correct answer. I have duplicated the 4 sprites and renamed their, corrected their costumes, changed their messages a little bit. We have changed the messages a little bit. And here, this is the correct option. So now that this is done, you can do fun things like when the person selects the right answer, you can show up. You can, you know how to show stars and stuff now. So you can do any of that and make it fun, basically what we're saying. So now I will just add and show you one more question so that you are absolutely comfortable. One thing now, you have to make sure that when you submit this challenge, do not use the same questions. That will not be considered a submission. And you must add some objects and some animation of these are the 2 key things. You can make minimum 3 questions. Is that fair? But if you go up to 5, I think people will enjoy to play, and pick up any theme which you think, your friends will enjoy, because that's why you create a quiz, right? You want people to have fun with it. So the next question I'm asking is, who is the inventor of the telephone? So I don't need to put this here. Instead, I need a telephone. And what I did, I took a telephone which has been created by one of our Panchatantra programming volunteer artists. She's a real good artist. She's created a lot of sprites which you have been seeing used by us. Backpack, I will put the link to the tutorial so that if you are not familiar and comfortable with using Backpack, do that. Watch the tutorial and practice, because it's a very, very one of the most amazing features when you work with Scratch online. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to copy this, go back here and paste and group it. So I've got question number 2. So when do I want this question number 2 to show up? After the person has, one of the methods is, after the person has given the correct answer. Correct answer is this option 2. In this code, after we have said what we wanted to, I will broadcast an event, and I'll broadcast an event and say, show question 2. So now what I will do is, on the backdrop code, we will receive show question 2, and we will switch backdrop to question 2. Now the other important aspect is that these 4 options, we do not want them to come for question 2. So what we need to do is, for all these 4 options, we need to do, when backdrop switches to question 2, you want to hide it. And now I'm clicking on this code and doing a copy. So on Windows, Control C, on Mac, Command C. And I will go to all the options and do paste, that is Command V or Control V on Windows. So you will see the same code easily gets pasted across these sprites. So this was really fast, wasn't it? And once all your 4 sprites are hidden, you need to just repeat the same thing. You need to create the 4 options, question 2, option 1, question 2, option 2, and just do the same thing. Now, different in that code will be that when backdrop switches to question 2, then those options will be shown. Now, let us also look at one more thing for your quiz. As somebody who's hosting the quiz, you will want to keep score. You do that, right? So let's see how to do score keeping for this quiz of ours. We are now going to be using something called a variable. Do you see this block here? If you have never used this block before, you have to think of variable as a memory block, right? It is something which is used whenever you're coding in any language to store some data. Let's create a variable today. What we will do, since we want to create this variable for the entire quiz, we will click on backdrop and we will create a variable. So make a variable. This variable will be available for all sprites. It's going to be available to everybody. And we will call it score variable. We can let it show here. When you start a game or a quiz, you always reset the score to 0. You always want it to start from 0. So what we are going to do, we are going to use this set variable to set it to 0. Now, remember the set variable, it will by default show up my variable. So if you do not remember to change it, you will be surprised at the results. So make sure you click on this triangle. It will show up all the variables which you have created so far. So right now, since you have only one variable, score, so you set score to 0. Now for our quiz, we can decide, right? You being the quiz master, you decide the score keeping. What is it you're going to do? So say you can decide that for every wrong answer, there will be a -1. And for a correct answer, there will be 10 points. So basically, if you keep clicking on 3 wrong scores, you get -3 till you get the correct answer. So what we will do is, when the sprite clicked, so for in the wrong answers, we will use this change this time. And again, change score by -1. Change score by -1 for all the wrong options. We will now set for the correct answer. We will say that set. Now for the correct answer, we will say change the score by 10 points. And we are doing it like the first thing on Sprite Click. Whenever you do any coding, you need to, of course, test it. I look forward to playing a lot of fun quizzes. So go ahead, have fun. Ta-da!